Hello again. I'm cranking through some of these videos today. So we have 4.3 day 2, identify and write equations of parallel lines. So your warm-up is to do exactly what we did yesterday and write the slope-intercept equation for a slope of 6 and a y-intercept of 5. Okay? So if you don't remember how to do that, go back and look at your notes from yesterday. Okay? So what is a parallel line? Okay? Two parallel lines are two lines that never intersect. Okay? That never intersect. Two lines that never intersect, and there should be a space between these two words, but didn't really get there. Okay? Two lines that never intersect. Okay? So they never cross, right? So two parallel lines, something like this. Okay? They go on forever in both directions, never intersecting, never touching each other. Okay? You guys know what parallel lines are, I hope. You've seen that before. So, what do equations of a parallel line have in common? Okay, so if you look at these parallel lines or any two parallel lines, okay, if I just sit here and keep looking at parallel lines, we've learned about some words. We've learned about slope, and we've learned about y-intercept. So if I actually look at the graph, actually let me do a graph with this color. Okay. Okay, so there's my graph. What do they have in common? Okay, and in this case, they're horizontal lines, so their slope is in common, okay? The slope will always be in common, no matter what graph I'm looking at here. Okay, the slope is what's in common. Okay, so that's what they have in common. What differs in equation for parallel lines? Well, look at it. What's the other word we've been focusing on? The y-intercept. So if I look, I'll even grab a different color here. Right here. Y-intercept is different. The y-intercept is different. The y-intercept is different. Okay, so here what's different is the y-intercept. Okay, now there might be some other things slightly different about it, but those are the two main things we want to focus on. The slope is the same. The y-intercept is different. Okay, so I have all these steps written out for you. To find a line that is parallel to an equation that you already have, follow these steps. Okay, so the words might be cut off a little bit, but these are typed in your notes. So put your equation in slope-intercept form if it is not already. So some of the equations they'll give you and you'll be like, oh, they're already in slope-intercept form, I'm totally good. If they're not, then you need to solve for y, which we learned how to do yesterday. Use the slope of that line for your new equation. So you're going to isolate the slope and put that in a new formula. Use the y-intercept or point given to you to find the y-intercept, and we're going to talk more about that in today's lesson. And then plug the slope and y-intercept into the equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, so those are kind of abstract right now because you haven't actually done a problem with them. So let's work with it, okay? So I'm going to try and leave these steps up at the same time as I'm doing a problem. So this example says, write an equation of a line given its y-intercept and the equation of another line parallel to the line. Okay, so basically it wants me to write an equation that's parallel to the equation I was already given. Okay, so again I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so we can kind of watch the steps and see the equation at the same time. So we have y equals 2/3 x plus 2. Okay, so I need to identify the slope. That's my first step. Put your equation in slope-intercept form if it's not already. This is in y equals mx plus b form. I'm good. Step 1 is done. Step 2 is use the slope of that line. So m in this case is 2/3. Right? This is my slope. Remember to identify that. So now I don't need this equation anymore. I'm done. I found my slope. I'm golden. Now it says the y-intercept of the parallel line is 5. So the y-intercept of my new line is 5. So my new equation is going to be y equals 2/3. You guys can't see that, sorry. X plus 5. Okay. So this is a completely new equation. Okay. Now these two equations are parallel to each other. So if I actually graph these on a graph, okay, they'd be parallel. Their slopes would be the same, but their y-intercepts would be different. Okay. So this is how you would write the equation of a parallel line. Steal the slope, use the new y-intercept, plug and chug into the y equals mx plus b form. Okay, and again, y and x are not being plugged in because I don't have a y and an x, and I want the actual equation. Okay, so I want to be able to choose any x and find out what the y is, choose any y, find out what the x is. Okay, let's try it again. So now this one if I zoom in, this equation that I want to find parallel is not in y equals mx plus b form. And it's kind of all jumbled. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I see that the x and the intercept are in two different places. So I'm going to flip those around. Now be very careful that the negative goes with the 3. Okay, because the 6 is positive, so I'm not subtracting 6, I'm adding 6. Okay, so I just rearranged my number so I know what's in the x plus the b form. Okay, now y still is not by itself, so I'm going to divide each piece by 2. So I get y equals negative 3 halves x plus 3. Okay. So now step 1 is taken care of. Okay. So step 2 says use the slope from that line. So that's, the slope is m equals negative 3 halves. Now this equation is done. I don't need it anymore. I've stolen the slope. I found that. I'm good. Now it says the y-intercept for this line, which is b, not y, I'm sorry, is negative 2. So I have the m and I have my b, so now I'm allowed to write an equation. So y equals negative 3 halves x plus 2, negative 2, I'm sorry, or y equals negative 3 halves x minus 2. Either one is an acceptable answer. I will take either. Okay. So because this is negative 2, I either have to add a negative 2 or just subtract 2. Okay. It means the same thing. Alright, let's rock and roll this. Alright, so one more. Okay, we got a couple steps to solve this one. So step 1, I need to put this in slope-intercept form. So I have 3y plus 6 equals 10x. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Now remember, I cannot combine the 10x and the 6. Oops, you guys really can't see that. Okay, because these are not like terms. I cannot combine these. Okay, I just rewrite them left to right so they're in a nice equation. Now I'm going to divide each piece by 3. So I get y equals 10/3 x minus 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay. Step 2, I steal my slope from that, which is just going to be 10/3. And now I'm done with that equation. I don't need it anymore. I wrote my 10/3 off to the side. Okay. And they want a parallel line with a y-intercept of 2. Y-intercept, which equals b, which is 2. Okay. So I'm going to have y equals 10/3 x plus 2. Okay. Nice parallel line. Alright. Now we're going to change things up a little bit. Sometimes they'll give you the equation, and that's how you find the slope. But sometimes they're going to give you a point, and you're going to have to kind of find either the y-intercept or the slope, depending on the thing, okay? So sometimes, that's my next instruction, sometimes you will just be given a point and the slope of a line and asked to find the equation. So a line has a slope of -5 and passes through the point 1, -8. Write the equation of the line. So I kind of have these nice little boxes for you. M equals what? Well, they told me the slope of -5, so I know m is -5. B, or my y-intercept, they didn't give it to me, so that's my question mark. That's what I need to find out. X, remember these points are x comma y, right? So for 1, -8, I kind of covered it, sorry. So x is 1, y is -8 from the point, okay? Remember x, y. So I'm going to fill that in over here. 1, -8. Okay. Now I need to find out what b is, and I have this nice equation. Okay, so that's the next part here, so you can kind of put it down here. How do we find the y-intercept? So you're going to plug in all the values that we know into y equals mx plus b, then solve for b. Then we can plug in m and b into the y equals mx plus b equation to find our actual equation. Okay, so you're actually going to use y equals mx plus b twice. Okay, so if you need to read these instructions again, this will be here. So I have all this. So I have y equals mx plus b as my formula. Y is -8 equals m, which is -5. Remember, there's an invisible multiplication between m and x. And x is 1 plus b. So now I can solve for b and find out what b is. So I get -8 equals, well, -5 times 1 is just -5 plus b. So then I'm going to add 5 to both sides of my equation. So this cancels. Oops, I don't really need the equal sign there. Okay, so I get b equals -8 plus 5 is a -3. So b is -3. Okay. Now from earlier, I know that m is -5, and my whole point is to write an actual equation. This that I plugged into is not an equation because I don't have an x and a y. Okay, I don't have two variables that I'm talking about. So I have y equals -5x plus b, which is -3, or I could write y equals -5x minus 3. Okay, either answer would be acceptable. Okay. Oops, sorry, you guys can't see that. I apologize. So let's do one more example of this. Okay, and then there's another one for your exit slip. So I'm going to write, I didn't write this one for you guys, but you can write it on your own. Okay, so this might help you in any of the problems that we did. What does each thing equal? What do I know? What do I need to know? These are the two that you need to know in order to write an equation, but sometimes you're not given both of them. So it says a line has a slope of -3, so my m is -3, and passes through the point -6, 8. So I have x and then y. Write an equation of the line. So my x, my b I don't know, x is -6 and y is 8. Okay, so I need to find b. I'm going to use y equals mx plus b because it has all 4 of the things that I need in order to find. Okay, so I get 8 equals -3 times -6 plus b. Okay, remember that invisible multiplication sign between m and x. Okay, so get 8 equals -3 times -6 would be a positive 18 plus b. And then I need to take away take away 18 from both sides of my equal sign here. So I get b equals, sorry, I'm kind of encroaching on this territory here. 8 minus 18, which would be -10. So I get b equals -10. Okay, so I'm going to write that over here. And then I already know from earlier that m equals -3. So I have y equals -3x plus -10, or y equals -3x minus 10. Okay, either would be acceptable. Sorry, you guys couldn't see that. Alright, so I want an equation, something with y and x in it, okay? So when it says write an equation, I should have y equals mx plus b in that form with m and b filled in as numbers as your final answer, okay? Alright, your exit slip is very similar to what we just did. It says a line has a slope of 1/3 and passes through the point 0, 1. Write an equation of the line. So almost identical to what we just did, okay? And your homework is page 164, number 7 through 11, all. Okay, so there's some even ones in there. If you'd like me to check that, I'd be happy to do so. Have a great day. Bye.